Welcome to Goober Time with Dr. Chris Chismore, hosted by Tom and Griffin.
We are your hosts, Tom and Griffin.
Unfortunately, our illustrious friend, Dr. Chris Chismore, is away on his important research and unable to host a podcast this week.
But fear not, dear listener, because he has left us in charge, and we are going to try to do a really good job of a podcast.
This week, Dr. Chismore has asked us to talk about the great outdoors. Imagine, dear listener, a great eagle soaring in the sky.
And the eagle notices a perfect roost on the branch of a cedar tree as he descends from his thermal he was riding through the air. Right. He plops down on the cedar branch.
Yes, the great mighty eagle plops on the branch.
And below him, two men seated at a red clay table.
Yes.
Two LaCroix, one pair of headphones, surrounded by many more of the trees. That's where we are.
And
a distant boom.
Maybe a sort of a distant gunshot. Ooh, a hunter off in the distance,
yes.
In the valley below. For they are on a mountaintop.
Yes, here we are. We're here in the Cedar Glen, a Cedar Glen in Griffith Park that is at the top of a hill. We both sweated to get here, but we're doing it because we had to record this in the great outdoors. Because today, Chris Chismore, the illustrious Dr. Chris Chismore, wants us to talk about
the great outdoors.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it with me.
No. I talked enough.
He wants us to share our memories, our discoveries.
Yes.
Our opinions and our
solutions.
Because
the great outdoors are in peril. If you've been following the news.
Or keeping up with fifth grade science class.
Yes, exactly. The great outdoors, they're always in peril, and we need to save them.
The rainforests. The earliest piece of the great outdoors I understood to be in peril.
Yeah, exactly. The rainforest, I think that was my first introduction to nature being in a bad way, was the rainforest.
And as we sit here now, we can safely say the rainforests have been saved. Thought you were going to say that with me too.
Yeah. No. I think the rainforests are still in peril, but they're definitely in less peril than they were before.
Okay, that's good to hear.
I think.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, wow, and just about to go off on a bizarre tangent right from the top. I read this. Michael Crichton had a lot of strange opinions about the climate and climate science, and my father loved to read him. And like
6'10", Michael Crichton.
6'10", doctor, body of a bodybuilder or a linebacker. He was like a huge dude.
Yeah, but I think he was taller than a linebacker. I don't think you can have a linebacker be 6'10".
That's
that
sure,
linebacker
right. I just meant he was like, I think he was like a buff.
Yeah.
See, clearly I know nothing about sports. Who should be what position in football? 6'10" guy, body of Michael Crichton. Let's say he's gonna end up being a quarterback.
He'd be very tall for a quarterback. Probably
wide receiver.
I think 6'10" is too tall to be playing football.
He can't play football.
He could be a receiver, maybe.
Because sometimes I see those guys who are down on the line, and they're like when they stand up, they're way taller than most of the other dudes.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson, Megatron, he was like 6'7".
Okay,
but he was even like a really tall wide receiver.
Michael Crichton was 6'10".
Yeah, he was 6'10".
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a massive guy to just be like, I'm gonna sit at my little typewriter all day and write about dinosaurs.
I was gonna say, do you think he's up there for biggest writer?
Yeah, he may be the biggest writer.
Him and David Foster Wallace.
How tall is David Foster Wallace?
I feel like David Foster Wallace was also tall. I don't know how tall he was, but something tells me he was. Maybe something I read somewhere, or he had a massive frame.
Damn.
I also had a tough time saying David Foster Wallace right there because for years I had a character called David Foster Waffles, and I couldn't remember which one was the actual writer.
Yeah, that sounds like an awful character.
Yeah, he was a Christian Chicago's only Christian comedian who also cusses. I think.
That sounds pretty funny.
Okay, saved it.
So why were you talking about Michael Crichton in the first place?
Because there was
Strange climate opinions.
He had strange climate opinions, and he wrote some book, and my family liked it. You know, my dad liked it, and then that turned me on to like this guy named Bjorn Lomborg, who is this like economist who wrote some books about the environment. He had a book called The Skeptical Environmentalist that was him using his background in statistics and economics to like look at whatever data about the environment and like just go through like the major claims of the environmentalist movement of I think this was written in like the 90s, and just like try to assess like, does this match up with the numbers we're seeing? And you know, not vouching for any of these opinions or any of this data at all, but I just remember a big part of his claim was like, things are much better than we're told they are. And like, yes, that like, you know, there's still massive deforestation, but there's also massive reforestation, where it's like less. Yeah. It's less of a concern. And he kind of went through, just various parts of environmental concerns. So here's all the things that are actually improving, but we don't ever hear about these. Yeah. And then also talked about but we are losing whatever ice is melting and shit like that. Yeah. And I don't think he ever claimed that it wasn't human caused. But either way, I remember reading that when I was maybe, I don't know, freshman in high school, sophomore in high school, and was like, oh, maybe it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that was nice to think. And I don't know if it is fine, but that just put in my head the thing about the rainforest. That maybe it's better than we think it is.
That's kind of the 15-year-old way to think about it, because I think for a while you're like, oh yeah, everything's going to be fine. And I don't think that people talking about climate change are like, the earth is going to be destroyed. It's the humans, we're going to destroy ourselves. The earth is going to be fine. Because I think one of the good things about nature in general is that it's pretty low maintenance,
Some of it is, and I think some of it's quite fragile.
Yeah,
we're also told both of these things.
It can be low maintenance but fragile. I'm just saying it takes care of itself.
It does take care of itself.
Like eventually, once humans wipe ourselves out from global warming, the Earth will return to its natural processes. It will be fine. And
biodiversity will flourish, and the ecology will sort of heal itself. I don't know what I was going to try to say. Yeah, the world will go back to. I'd think maybe a more interesting place.
Yes. Yeah, it will be more interesting, but there won't be any people to be interested in it. Yeah. That one hits.
That
one hits.
That one hits. I felt that. I'm sure you felt that at home, dear reader.
Yeah, and that's the kind of nugget you get for free.
That's a free nugget?
That's a free nugget on Goober Time.
And just imagine,
that's hosted by Tom and Griffin.
And that's a free nugget. Just imagine what's behind the rhetorical Patreon.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Yes. But imagine
by the time you're hearing this, it could.
It could be. It could exist.
It could exist, and you could be hearing whole deposits, not just a nugget of gold.
Yeah.
A whole vein.
A whole deposit, a whole mine, or a quarry of thoughts.
Yes.
Of which the Earth holds many things. The Earth holds. That's another good part about the great outdoors is it has lots of treasures.
It's many treasures.
Many treasures. There's all sorts of raw minerals. There's lots of interesting rocks that are helpful, and we go out there and we take those rocks and we turn them into buildings.
That's how we built buildings 1 and 2 and Tower 7.
Yeah. Buildings 1 and 2. Yeah.
World Trade
Center. Yeah. We take the things out of the earth and build things like the World Trade Center and the Freedom Tower. When the World Trade Center
is it called World Trade Center 1 now? Is that what it is? Sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
Off on a tangent. And we're discovering more things about it all the time. The Earth.
Yeah.
Not World Trade Center.
No.
1. Though maybe there's some more things to discover there. Maybe the architects put in some Easter eggs.
Yeah,
Sorry.
maybe the architects made the type of steel.
Okay, good.
You know, the kind that they're saying it melts. It was able to. Jet
Right.
fuel doesn't melt steel beams, right?
That's what they say. And you're saying
It was structurally.
maybe an Easter egg of World Trade Center 1 is that they made it with steel that does melt with jet fuel.
Yeah.
That's an Easter egg they put in the tower. You know, and again, immediately taking us off topic, but I was always curious, why didn't they just rebuild the towers? Just remake them. I think that would have been a bigger sort of fuck you.
Well, I think the point of building one of them is that it was like a unity thing. It said we don't need the two of them. Let's just build one fantastic tower again.
World Trade Center 1 fantastic tower.
Yeah, we can't like go back. We can't just rebuild the old ones.
Why not?
Because then no one would want to go in.
Because it's too scary.
Go back in.
But
think people are going to want to go and work in the two exact replicas of the buildings that they just took down?
I don't know. I mean, is that any different than going in one taller building that sits on the same ground?
Well, it doesn't sit on the exact same ground.
Not the exact same ground. There's holes
but
there.
yeah.
They put it in a new special spot.
The memorial.
But, I mean, it's still a massive, tall building that is... I don't know what they're doing in there, but I'm assuming some other important financial and whatever shit they were doing.
Which was it was all financial stuff.
Yes, I don't know why rebuilding them is like less appetizing than
I just think
either way, I'm going to work at the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Also, I think safer. The second, like, there's no way they're doing it twice.
Yeah. It's definitely not happening twice.
Also, 2 towers, 2 chances to get out. That's something that wasn't in the conversation. Tom's putting his head in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, as with any millennial comedians, we must talk about 9/11.
Sorry, that's my fault.
It's okay.
And that is our sign to return to topic.
Yes.
For that is the great black raven.
Yes.
Or maybe a crow. Tom knows the differences.
That sounded more like a raven, but I didn't get a look at it.
The raven is bigger than the crow?
The raven has a shorter beak and is a little bit squatter than a crow.
What they have here in Los Angeles is
both.
But whatever it is, the scary, spooky blackbird that you're seeing all around Los Angeles is massive compared to the crows in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
They look almost like birds of prey. They're huge.
Yeah. Well, they are. Ravens are birds of prey.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. I think they fall into birds of prey.
They're not carrion... what do you call it?
A bird of prey. If you eat carrion, if you're a vulture, you're a bird of prey.
Oh. I thought that required you preying on something, not just being an opportunist.
Bird of prey, I think, classify any bird that eats like small game, no matter what type of meat it is.
Oh yeah, there it is.
It's technically a bird of prey.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So
this is good. You're on this podcast.
You're good. You're warbler, not a bird of prey, even though it eats bugs. I don't think bugs are considered like game.
This sounds
like prey.
This sounds like there's some gray area here.
Yeah, I think I'm getting into the gray area here, but but like warbler, not a bird of prey. Raven, I think you can consider it a bird of prey.
And now this has me thinking: can bugs be prey? Bugs are prey to other animals. Anteaters eating ants. Those are its prey.
I think this is kind of like getting into the whole plant thing of what is a fruit. Is that technically is like from, everything is a fruit. Yeah. From like a botanical standpoint, and that like anything that gets eaten by another animal is prey technically. Right. Like any living thing, or any little animal that gets eaten by another animal is its prey. However, the term bird of prey, I think they only are using it to refer to like birds that catch, that hunt, like things like mice and rodents and other birds. Right. Okay. And I think ravens can, technically eat whatever.
Anything.
Yeah.
Maybe they do.
I don't know if I would bet a ton of money on it, but I think I'd bet like $50 on it.
Okay. That ravens are birds of prey.
Yeah, that I think ravens could be considered birds of prey.
I'm kind of broke, so I'm not going to take that bet, but if I had money, I'd take it just for the fun of it. and see what the odds, what my chances are. We have lots of birds of prey in Los Angeles, which a category as a little boy, and I think maybe little boys and just children in general, I don't know why I'm gendering it, maybe obsessed with the wild world. That's one of the first things you're obsessed with.
Yeah.
Is nature, and you're learning about all the different, mostly the fauna. Maybe you're concerned about flowers as well, but birds of prey, really interesting category. There's lots of them here. We got falcons, which I've never been around until moving to Los Angeles, and they're so cool. And massive red-tailed hawks.
Yeah, a lot of red-tailed hawks up here.
Condors somewhere around. Haven't seen them, but they're not far.
Yeah, the California condor.
There's a condor reservation somewhere near Malibu, I think.
Yeah.
Would love to get in there.
Yeah.
Is it illegal to be in there?
No, I mean, I think you can go hiking, but
you just can't catch them. Can't get them.
Yeah, you definitely can't catch them.
Yeah. Well,
they don't have a reservation.
I'm just figuring out the
so
rules.
You can catch the condor.
I'm a guy who was interested in law school but didn't go. So I'm just generally interested in rules.
Yeah. The California condor. I think we may have a kestrel or two.
Is that the one with the forked
type of?
The tail looks like that, forked tail.
I think they could have a forked tail. Yeah, maybe a kite.
A Seahawk. What's a Seahawk? That's more northwest.
Yeah, well, that's because I think you're thinking of the literal football team, the Seahawks. But I don't know about.
But I think they're native to that region is why, hence the name.
Yeah.
And I think it has another name besides the Seahawk.
Well, I mean, I think again, similar to we have ospreys around here.
Osprey. What's that?
I think an osprey could be considered a Seahawk.
Gotcha. Is that bigger than This is not interesting, but now I just don't know what
Ospreys are the black and white. They're like mostly white with a little bit of black.
Cool.
And they sit and they hunt fish.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Seahawk.
Seahawk.
Like boat docks a lot.
Okay, I got to be looking out for that.
Yeah, and they're pretty ubiquitous. They're pretty much all over the coastal United States, especially the southern, like in South Carolina, where my parents lived, a lot of ospreys around there.
Oh.
Pretty sure we have them in Southern California as well. Oh. And they're definitely in Central California, because saw a lot of ospreys when we went to Morro Bay.
Okay. Tom's flexing on his bird of prey knowledge and bird of prey sightings. I've seen less birds of prey. I have to admit it to the listener. I've seen far fewer.
Yeah,
but I did see an egret in Florida once.
Okay.
Couldn't describe it to you now, but I just remember it was huge, and I thought, I've never seen that type of bird before. And my brother said, that's an egret. And then we kept playing golf. Yeah,
they're egrets. You're going to see them a lot on golf courses. Egrets, great blue herons. I think we have those in Southern California too, great blue heron. Absolutely beautiful bird. Had a lot of those in South Carolina as well.
Would love to go through each 15 minutes and talk about a different type of animal. But we simply don't have time for that, and neither do you, listener.
We're kind of getting into just a bird listing.
That's okay.
Whole.
Some guys got to list birds. Other guys got to talk about other stuff.
But yeah, much like a little vole, we got to get out of our hole and explore more of the great outdoors.
Wow. Yes. So let's continue. We've started in the sky with our bird.
Yeah.
And now down the tree trunk to the ground.
Yeah, to the forest floor.
Like, this is as if we have any fucking plan.
Yeah.
I would love if we had sort of a plan from sky to ground to below.
If we had started in the canopy as a deliberate choice and are going to move through each layer of the forest, but we're not.
We're not. And we might pop around.
Yeah.
Pop a roach, pop around. Sorry. Do you have an early great outdoors memory?
I think that. Yes. I think that like many people, I grew up, and I think grew up in an area where you have a large backyard and you're able to explore a lot of the woods in the backyard. So I think my earliest and fondest memories are just kind of tramping around in the forest and building little huts. And I think my friends and I built a bridge across a small creek.
That's classic.
And small creek is even a generous term for what this was. It was just really just water that we had built a bridge over.
And you know what? You said bridge, and I thought dam. I think it's a easy, classic. You know, if there's a creek around a campground, you're finding kids putting stuff in the way of the water and making a dam.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen kids make a bridge. That
we
requires
made
engineering.
a small bridge. Yeah, we made a small bridge. I think it was called Moose Mock Bridge, is what we called it.
Moose Mock?
Moose Mock Bridge.
That sounds like it would be in a park.
Yeah,
that sounds real.
And so we made that bridge, and then I think one time my neighbor got mad at me or someone that we had built it with, and so he destroyed it in rage, and that made us all very sad because it was kind of like, you know, our little area.
Would you say that was the end of your boyhood? The bridge was gone, and we were no longer children.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
We're concerned with the
Moose
problems
Mock
of
Bridge
man.
had been destroyed, and we had, you know, our first taste of feud and war, and we became men. And then they developed.
Summer was over.
They developed all the area that was, you know, the woods in our backyard. They turned it into a park and more houses because my family lived at the edge of a subdivision.
That's tough. Is that tough?
It wasn't tough.
Bitter?
We kind of knew that they were going to do that. But it is sad because you just are kind of like, oh, all this used to be woods and now it's houses. But also my friends live in those houses. And so you're kind of like, it ain't so bad.
It ain't so bad. At least my friends have homes.
Yeah, at least my friends have homes, and there's still plenty of area to explore. I also remember one time.
Thank God, you're saying, thank God they paved over the enchanted woods behind my house so that now my friends can live in homes that all look identical.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was a realist, logical kid.
Right, okay.
But I also remember one time going so far back into the woods that we found this woman's house. And I think as a kid we thought that she was a witch, but she was just an artist. And then I remember my mom getting mad at us because she was like, you shouldn't have gone back that far and disturbed that woman.
Wow.
But yeah, it in reality probably wasn't that far in the woods, and we probably just like meandered around to a house that you could easily access by like
a different means.
Just a different means, but it felt like this woman lived so deep in the woods and was a witch. And then as I got older, I was just kind of like, oh no, she was just like an artist that kind of lived farther back.
That's an incredible,
and not in a subdivision.
That's incredible to have though as a kid. I mean, you know, get in trouble with your mom, but fun to have an old lady who lives off in the woods, deep in the woods behind your house that you kind of stumble. Like, that sounds great.
Yeah. And we'd also take. My parents got me a BB gun, and so we'd take the BB gun out into the woods and shoot it at targets and stuff. And I think that was another good early outdoors memory.
Shooting the BB gun
at targets, and eventually bringing my dog, who liked hearing the sound. He wasn't really a dog that didn't do much, but even hearing the BB gun kind of kicked off his little instinct as a hunting dog.
He thought there's bird.
And he would run after we would shoot the gun. He'd run and like try and find
wild.
The thing that we shot. Which
the
was
instinct
just a can.
of shooting, hearing a shot and going to get something is built into the dog.
It was pretty
biologically programmed into the dog.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, those were some of my earliest outdoor memories.
Yeah. I also had a backyard, so you're not alone. Backyard with a fence that then led to more woods that we could go explore. Did that a bunch. Yeah, similar situation. I'm trying to. You're talking about it getting developed, and I used to have. I think I have, maybe within the year, like a recurring dream, sort of nightmare of going. My grandmother lives on a big farm way outside of Memphis.
Yeah,
and would have like nightmares about like going back to it and walking around and being like, well, this spot where this pond was or this woods was is now a subdivision, and I don't recognize it anymore. And they've sold off all the land.
Yeah,
and I think there are more developments around. There used to be nothing out there, and there now are developments, at least on one side of them, and it does bother me. I mean, I unfortunately I already feel the nostalgia of it and the bitterness of like, oh man, if they pave over one of those fields and there's just encroaching, suburban development towards my grandma's farm that I was meant so much to me as a kid.
Yeah.
Woo, I'd be sad, and I guess I got to just get prepare for it because it's coming.
Yeah.
There's maybe no stopping it.
I've had similar nightmares where I go, I'm in that park or those early areas in the outdoors of childhood, and you're kind of walking around that area, but when you get to the edge of the woods, instead of a subdivision, there's a demon who's going to eat my heart.
Whoa.
And that's, I kind of have more classic nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah. I also have, and have had since I was a kid, other dreams about my grandma's farm where we're under siege by werewolves, and we know the sun is setting, night is coming, and there's the tall grass. I'm out in the tall grass or along the road, and it's getting late, and it's we need to be getting back to the house because they're coming. And then being in the house and being we got to batten down the hatches and prepare to fight these werewolves or hide from them. A lot of werewolves coming to kill me at my grandmother's house.
It's interesting how it's ideally one day, when I have a child, I have a family that and if they have children, that I'm going to be a grandpa, and that in my house could be, the basis for those, those types of dreams.
Those
and
nightmares.
Yeah, those nightmares.
My house could be the basis for my grandchildren's nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a part of being a grandpa that no one tells you about. But I have so many nightmares. So the settings of my early childhood, whether it's the neighborhood I grew up in, the woods behind it, or any of the houses my grandparents lived in, all are have been settings for nightmares.
Yeah, few dreams. For me, a lot of. I also remember the nightmares more than the dreams, maybe because I'm waking up in the middle of the nightmare.
Yeah. It's if you're dreaming and you're at your grandma's house, nothing's good is about to happen.
Nothing good's about to happen to your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's coming out of the ground, or something's happening to the house, or or that's not your grandma anymore.
Yeah.
There's something strange about her.
Yeah. It's a Wendigo.
It's a Wendigo, which we've talked about before. I don't remember it, and I'm not going to ask you about it again because it's going to get you talking about your ghost stories.
Yeah. And it's not good to mention it too much, especially when we're in the outdoors.
I was going to say, even if I don't ask more, you're probably just going to go for it anyways.
We don't want to give it power, especially in its home.
Right. Its home, the great outdoors. The big rocks, the dirty ground, the darkened woods.
Which, I will say, I think that one of my issues with the great outdoors, something that I think might improve it a lot, is more large animals. I think that
too many small ones. We need big ones.
Yeah, there are too many small animals, and it's too easy to go out into the woods and spend hours in the woods and not really see an animal. And I think that's a problem.
Interesting.
I think that it would be great if we had more large animals, and you could just be pretty much guaranteed to see some sort of animal.
I'd push back on that and say you don't want it to be too often, because then it's not special anymore when you do see something. So you just want it to be you want to dial up. You want the game developers to just change that percentage chance you're going to bump into a big animal.
Yeah. I want to up that percentage. I want the developers,
slightly.
Slightly.
Or massively. Do you want to every time you go, you want to now, do you wish we there's a pretty good chance we see a bear?
It would be, yes. That would be
You'd
awesome.
Love that. That would be awesome.
That would be great. Yeah, and you see, even the thought of it, you're like, oh, that would be cool. And
I've always wanted to see a bear.
You're right in that it may diminish. You may get a little diminishing returns, but if it was a different animal every time, if they upped the variation,
sure,
then that could be could be great.
I like thinking about God as a game developer and life his game.
Yeah. It's a very
various interactions are just percentage pools of things that might occur. Chance to spawn moose.
Yeah, exactly.
I think though the people who live near a lot of bears, God damn it, these things suck.
Yeah, you don't want. Yeah, but again, it's
bears.
a variation. Yeah, it's you're seeing the same type of animal all the time, and it's a nuisance.
This is why we must travel.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still a blessing. It's still cool to see an animal that often.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see if there was a few more interesting animals, but granted, we live in one of the largest urban areas, at least in North America.
Yes, but also
I think
in one
on
of
Earth.
the largest urban wilderness
Yes,
areas.
there are
'Cause Griffith
cougars.
Park is,
Oh, yes, Griffith Park is a wilderness area.
Yeah, I think it is. It's an urban wilderness.
I think if you can
And
go
one of the
walking and not
largest.
come back and nothing bad, nobody did anything to you, you just kind of got lost or fell down a hole, that should count as a wilderness area.
So you're saying if nothing bad happens?
I'm saying if the fact that people routinely go missing in Griffith Park makes it a wilderness area.
Yeah.
And that there's deer, large animal,
Yeah.
and used to be cougar, potentially more cougars we don't know
Yeah.
about. I think wilderness area, and it's just huge.
Yeah. And lots of rattlesnakes. I've seen a lot of rattlesnakes.
Never once seen a rattlesnake in my life.
I never saw one until I lived here, and I go running on the trails up here, and I see rattlesnakes a fair amount in the summer.
I'll tell you what, that would give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, one of them I saw was massive. Another two I saw, they were intertwined.
Yeah.
There's a man who stopped me in the middle of the run. He didn't speak much English, but he waved me down, and I was like, what? And he was like pointing to behind him where I was running to, and he like pointed to the side. And I was kind of like, okay, I don't think this guy's going to be able to communicate exactly what he's saying to me, but that's generally what someone makes when there's a big animal up ahead.
Do you think
so
maybe...
I got kind of excited, and it was two rattlesnakes intertwined. And I thought they were mating, but then I realized when I looked it up later that it was like, it's something that juveniles do. They were like wrestling. They're like two teen boy rattlesnakes, just kind of like,
wrestling. I didn't know they did that. And when you said the guy didn't speak English, I thought maybe, Tom, you've come across a parcel tongue. And he was gonna point behind you and go.
That's a Harry Potter thing, right?
That's a Harry Potter thing.
Oh yeah,
you can talk if you get to talk about Wendigo. I get to reference children's literature.
But you're not a Harry Potter guy, though, are you?
I'm a Harry Potter guy. I'm not like a freak.
You read all the books?
Yeah, I read all the books. I'm not going to Harry Potter world. I'm not going out of my way, but if I am near it, don't know where it is, I think Florida.
Yeah.
And I'm with a group of people and they want to go, I would also go.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I wouldn't refuse Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
That's not that. That's more
I would
being
consider
into
that being into Harry Potter.
Being into hanging out with people.
If a group of people said we're going to Harry Potter world, I would say absolutely not. Take me to the great outdoors.
Wow. Okay, I guess if it's an either or, I'd say I'd rather go hiking.
Yeah.
Well,
take me to the Okefenokee swamp.
Sure.
If I'm in Florida,
Okefenokee,
and I have a choice,
beautiful swamp.
Yeah, my uncle was a park ranger at Big Cypress Swamp and the Everglades.
Okay, Tom,
and I'd say take me there.
Flexing his nepotism with the great outdoors.
Oh, he's retired now. He lives in South Carolina.
Yeah, that doesn't stop him from getting you a cherry ass job with the great outdoors.
He probably could not at all. The thing about having a government job is I don't think there's anything you can do.
Yeah, that's probably good. That's probably a good, well, unless you're at a certain level. And
yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're like in like DC government,
sure.
But he was like in the bastard arm of government, which is the national park system.
Right.
It's the part that we all love the most, but the government hates. Mm-hmm. Which, was another one of my ways to improve the great outdoors is, let's funnel some more money into the national parks. Because if you've ever been to a national park, some of them are really nice.
Yes.
But others of them, you're like, damn, this shit hasn't been re-upped since like the 60s.
Right. We need maybe some new architecture? Or you mean just rehabbing some of the existing
I think
structures?
you rehab some of the existing stuff. I think some of the campgrounds could use a little zhuzhing, a little love.
Let's put in a lazy river.
If we spent like 0.5% of what we did, of what we spend on a lot of other bullshit in the country, or like the war on terror, or all the wars we got going on. I know it's kind of a tired take to be like, we should spend less money on war and put it in the national parks, but we really should.
We should. I think maybe first, education, and then the national. Now we're pitting, these things against each other. But yeah.
But I truly am like, if I died by terrorist, I wouldn't. If I died by terrorist, I wouldn't be mad at my government for not protecting me.
I'd be like, they got me.
Yeah, I've been
but
at
if I died at
little to no
park,
risk about being around a terrorist. But I go to national parks all the time, so it's like, take some of the money I give you every year and you know,
just maintain them.
Yeah, just maintain
basic
them.
maintenance. I don't need a lazy river.
Yeah,
I
Or
don't
just-
I don't need a laser tree. I need just a nice bathroom. And
Yeah.
less pieces of rusty metal sticking out. Where they shouldn't.
I'm not asking for a Chili's in Yosemite Valley or anything, which would probably do very well.
I think it might do really well.
But you know, I'm asking for just like, you know, updated, you know, like let's get some fucking soap in the campground bathroom because they never have any soap.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, agree.
Or like let's you know, like let's give them some money so that we can maintain the deep trails, like the trails deep in the wilderness. Like there are bridges that need to be built. They get, you know, destroyed by the elements, and so being able to pay people to go out and maintain those so that everyone can enjoy the outdoors and get into the wilderness would be a great improvement.
I have a friend who does that for somewhere in Colorado, but he was doing it somewhere out here, who was like in charge of like trail maintenance teams. I've had multiple friends who have had that job.
It seems like
at least
it's a
4
cool
guys
job.
from summer camp. Yeah, I think they like it. Last time I talked to him, he was like, I hate this. It's not fun, and I'm tired of it.
I could see that,
and I don't really remember why.
It'd be nice to do for like a summer or two, but when it becomes like your entire life, I think it would get kind of old.
Yeah. Wanted to go back to, you know, hoping for more big animals.
Yeah.
Is, you know, I go deer hunting.
Yeah.
And dove sometimes as well, but deer hunting especially, it depending on where you are, but it really highlights how big the world is, how big the natural wilderness is, because I've sat in the woods for God knows how many hours, 3-4 hour stints over the course of, I don't know, since I was 14 or something, maybe 12.
Yeah.
And just been alone. Just saw nothing.
Yeah.
Saw, you know, squirrels and some birds.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are common.
Yeah. Those are too common. It's not exciting to see.
Too common, not exciting.
You're out there. You're out there to see the big ones.
You're out there for the big show. Yeah. But the chances of seeing the big show are slim.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When you do, at least in Tennessee, deer hunting in Tennessee, you know, you're not seeing deer every time you go out necessarily. Yeah. And when you do, you feel crazy. Because it's just, you've been, you know, almost sensory deprived for hours.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's something moving off in the distance. I don't know. You said that and it just reminded me of like realizing, my God, the woods are huge.
Yeah.
It's insane because I can see a sizable portion of them from where I'm sitting in this tree. You know, I can see, I don't know, that's generally maybe depending on the foliage, 100, 200 yards and through the trees, you know, if it gets dense. But like, and I'm not seeing almost anything sometimes, and that's wild because it's a massive area.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that you know is.
I guess 200 yards isn't long, but like in a as a radius.
The great outdoors, there's plenty of it for everyone. You don't have to work hard to get alone in the great outdoors.
You don't.
And that's a great thing. Like I know we have developed a large portion of the earth, you know, like we have towns and cities and, you know,
Thank you for admitting that. Thank you for acknowledging this.
But it's still crazy to me that there are, and very cool that there is still a lot of wilderness out there. And, you know, there are plenty of areas where it's like, you know, we live in the second biggest city in the United States, and it's pretty easy if you wanted to just be alone to be alone and get out in the woods.
A little bit harder in California, but it's just because the national parks are so popular.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess I say that, and then like I can just drive into the Angeles National Forest, and depending on, you know, day of week and where I'm going, like pretty good. There's definitely spots I could go that like almost no one else will be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
everyone can get their own little patch of the great outdoors, and that's one of the beautiful things about it.
Yes, at least for a little bit of time, you can.
Yeah, because I mean, eventually you sit there. You know, the big show's going to walk by.
The big show walks by.
The big show walks by, or a human comes by.
You're seeing, you know, right prong. You got 6 points on that thing. You're thinking, my God, I got a 12-point monster coming around the bend. You start vibrating. Your heart starts thumping. You're trying to get that rifle up, but not make too much motion because you don't want to spook them. You don't want them to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their whole thing is to not get killed, so they're good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start getting excited when the big show shows up.
The big show.
I've had the big show up a couple times in my life, and one in particular whiffed, and it didn't feel good. I felt like, I was going to say Melville, but I felt like Ahab.
Yeah.
For at least a whole fall, a whole hunting season was there. He's out there still.
That same deer.
That same massive buck that came grunting through the woods like a pig. Like I could hear it coming, and it was or whatever crazy sound they make. Oh, and now we're hearing one of man's creatures of the sky.
The airplane.
I thought it was a helicopter. The airplane.
No, it's definitely an airplane sound.
Made only to mimic what birds can do. What birds already have.
It's a little known fact that the airplane engine was made to mimic the sound of a bird.
No, I just meant the airplane itself mimicking what
birds can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we didn't have birds on Earth, do you think we ever would have come up with airplanes?
That's a good question.
I think we probably just, basic, laws of physics. You'd start to understand laws of aerodynamics at some point, and then you'd probably figure out, I bet if this car had a thing on it, it went fast enough, it could get lift. So I bet we would figure it out eventually. But
yeah, I think we would have made it a lot more of whirly bird helicopter weird shit.
The Leonardo da Vinci jump off a cliff and kill yourself.
Yeah. We would have had to make a lot more of those
sky.
if birds didn't exist, and we were like, oh, we should just copy that.
But I'm thinking
machine.
Yeah. I'm thinking those early ideas about flight. That's getting those. Jesus Christ! That's getting in those guys' heads because they're seeing birds.
Yeah.
An unknowable answer, I guess. A silly question, but something to think about. I was also thinking about hunting. Because a lot of the way that I'm outdoors often is, at least in the fall, is hunting. Is a thing I like about being in the great outdoors. Is it's very grounding. It's very centering. You go and you're trying to hunt. This is maybe more what I like about hunting, but it's also that's part of the great outdoors. Is you are seeing the rising and setting of the sun, and you are so much more in tune with what's going on. And used to be quite scared, especially as a little kid, walking into
the sunrise and sunset.
Right. Well, because if I'm not covered up by sunrise, then I turn to dust.
And the werewolves are coming out near your grandma's house.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the werewolves come out. So I'm a vampire who is also afraid of werewolves because they're encroaching on my grandmother's house. No, what was I trying to say?
You're in tune.
Yeah. You start to. And I used to be just scared of walking into the pitch black woods at 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
With even if with a headlamp on, it's still feels like you're in a horror movie. Like you're just seeing the cone of the light, and there's sounds, and you see eyes in the woods looking at you, and it is a little bit freaky. But the more I've done it, the less afraid I've gotten, and the more in touch with just how the actual world is.
Yes.
And also, just quick aside, we're now hearing another one of God's creatures, the hiker.
The hiker. The human hiker that's also playing music from their
Was somebody playing?
phone.
I couldn't hear
There's a little bit of music coming from it.
Which is
a big pet peeve, and then we don't have much to talk. We don't really have much ground to stand on right now because we're recording a podcast.
Well, we're having a conversation.
Yeah, we're not blaring our own podcast.
We're not walking through the woods with a fucking Bluetooth on. I'll say it's less of a pet peeve, and it's more of it's a national crisis.
Yeah, I agree.
Ought to be banned. Ought to be punishable by a fine.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be doing that. If you're doing that and you're listening to this, listen. You can still save yourself. Just stop it.
I don't think that any of our listeners would be those types of people.
Who knows?
We, who I bet we have listening, some drone operators.
Oh God,
at
least one.
Which also, I was on vacation and saw someone flying a drone, in a beautiful location, and I was just like, man, I hate that too.
Yeah,
I hate the drone. It's
the drone and the Bluetooth.
Everyone. This is my impression of what drone operators think other people are like when they bring out their drone.
Okay, let's hear it.
Oh my God, that guy's got a drone. Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh, babe, we gotta get on YouTube later to see the footage he's gonna upload. babe, this would be so cool with an aerial shot. Oh my God, the shots he's gonna get. This is gonna be awesome. Oh yeah, I love that drone. That guy's, I like that guy. He's a hero.
Point taken. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It sucks.
It sucks.
It's loud. You should be allowed to shoot them down.
Yeah, well, and there are some national parks where like, this is a no drone zone.
Yeah, but people break that.
Yeah, exactly. Where I'm like, dude, just, drones are fine. There are plenty of cool drone shots I've seen, but like, I'm never like, oh, thank God. What we need is more fucking aerial footage of, the desert or like Yosemite.
Yeah.
It's like, just let other people enjoy it without the little like, you can always hear it.
It does suck. It feels like you're being intruded on, and we got to, okay.
Yeah.
Drones are outlawed. Generally. Damn, they should be, I do like it. The idea of flying a drone sounds fun. Never done it. Flying a first-person view drone sounds really fun. So I don't want to say they should be outlawed fully, but they're far too popular. There's far too many of them. It's far too easy to get them. There was a time when I thought you had to have a license to fly them at all, and now it seems. I think you still need some kind of drone operating permit or license of some sort.
Yeah.
But you're just seeing just random guys at a campground lighting them things up into the sky.
What are you gonna do with that, man? What are you gonna do?
What's this going for?
Yeah, what's this going for? Is this going to turn
into... Same with the people who have GoPros on them when they're hiking.
Yeah.
Who wants to... Maybe somebody... I don't know. I guess I shouldn't yuck somebody else's yum, but like...
There is a great YouTuber that I turn on when I'm just like, I can't watch anything at the end of the day. And he does... Oh yeah, there's a massive... For our listeners, we have a massive raven.
This is what I'm talking about. This thing is fucking huge.
Yeah, he is coming close to the picnic table we were at, and he is... hopped up on a rock.
This thing is bigger than a regulation size football.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I don't think I could palm that thing and throw it.
No. I would
Can you
need
palm
two
it?
hands. And now he just flew away.
Now he's off. I guess they're common, but they are kind of cool to look at.
Yeah, birds are beautiful. We were talking about drones.
Yeah, and I was about to ask you if you could throw a football.
Yeah, I can throw a football.
I just tried to throw like an NFL, size regulation, bigger than college football, and I can't really do it.
Oh yeah,
they're huge.
Those are massive.
I don't know how you throw those.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to be a quarterback now, and I couldn't do it to save my life.
Yeah, well,
college size I could throw.
Yeah,
that's smaller, right?
Yeah, I think that pro footballs are a little bigger. But I don't think they're like that much different. You could throw it. You could throw a football.
I could definitely get it from A to B, but like I don't think I could throw it like with like how you're supposed to with a spiral.
No, that's why it's hard.
It's going to look like a fucking duck got shot.
Yeah, that's why they pay those guys a lot of money, because it is hard.
But I could do it with a college-sized one.
Yeah, well, that's why you don't get paid in college.
That's why you don't get paid in college, because the football is a little bit smaller, and most guys could do it.
Most guys could do it.
Guy who's just generally athletic can do it. You're not getting paid.
Yeah. But when you make the football just a little bigger,
wow,
that's when the tens of millions of dollars come in.
That's right. Wow. Now I want to. I wish I had one in front of me to try. I was going to say something else about hunting, but I don't remember what it was, and I don't know that I need to press my well, it's a unique thing that I'm doing. I don't know anybody else who hunts.
Yeah.
Who is in our friend group or peer group? Not one other comedian that I know.
No, it's not
a filmmaker or whatever it is that I'm doing.
not a very popular hobby among the artists.
And I'm trying to get them out there. We got to get the artists connecting with the natural world, the natural way of things, the ethical meat harvesting. We got to get artists doing this sort of thing. And there's a certain group of comedians who are doing that, hunting, and they're called Joe Rogan and his strange friends who you've never seen do any actual comedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Andrew Schultz, who continues to get more and more opportunities despite.
Is he going hunting?
I don't know. I bet he's a hunter.
We're just making him an enemy of the pod.
Yeah, we
publicly declaring
of the pod.
Andrew Schultz. Yeah, I would say Andrew Schultz is maybe an alpha penis boy. He's a
Yeah.
sigma. He is the platonic idea of a penis boy.
Yes.
That dumbass is just saying stupid shit constantly.
Yeah, and
As if
getting
it's-
and succeeding more and more,
Yes.
continuing to
God.
get opportunities.
I don't know about that. I'm not up on it, but
I just saw him in some Netflix show.
fuck. And it's not his own?
No, it's Shane Gillis's Netflix
Oh, that's
show.
fine.
Yeah.
These guys are giving
It
each
was-
other the
yeah.
same opportunities.
that we give each other.
They're helping each other out. They're that type of comedian.
They're allowed to help each other.
Yeah, and I guess don't want to don't want to fully write it off. Maybe someday me and Tom could be on Tires season 4.
Jesus, after watching the first episode, I don't know if we want to be on Tires. Season
I haven't
4.
seen it at all. I just know Stavros is on it, and I think he's funny.
Yeah, I gave
think
it. I
Shane
gave
Gillis
it the
is
old.
funny.
Me too. I gave it the old college try, and I just did not. It was just the type of humor. It just didn't. It was not funny.
Gotcha. You know who? And this is again off topic and veering into just comedy weeds. But you know who I thought I was going to hate and have ended up finding endearing is fuck, what's his name? He's Sal. I found him incredibly likable. I thought he was just going to be sort of an Andrew Schultz dipshit, just saying nearly racist stuff on stage, and the audience loves it.
Yeah.
But he's just a funny.
Just such an impractical joker.
I think if I'm going to like any of them, I'm proud to like him.
That's good. That's good. Maybe I should check him out more because I think it's easy to see
what is
the
his
impractical
name?
jokers on TBS playing in the background of the 24-hour fitness I worked at and say, this seems like one of the dumbest shows I've ever seen in my life. But it's nice when, those guys are actually funny. And, we all, as professionals, know that what you put out into the world sometimes isn't, what the people like isn't necessarily what your, true talent as a comedian.
Chris DiStefano.
Chris DiStefano.
He
okay.
and Chris DiStefano are friends, and he's on his podcast a lot. And I'll say, going back to hunting, was at my dad's friend Phil's farm a while ago, and we had come back from hunting, and Phil turned on the TV, and all he wanted to watch was Impractical Jokers, and he was loving it. And I was, initial like, oh God, damn, feels like somebody being like, let's play Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a drag. Watched it for an hour, and because I kind of had to, and it was great. I get it. It's fun. They're doing funny stuff. They're doing stuff that I wish I had that chance. Wish I had that show. Fun. I'll say I'm a Impractical Jokers stan.
That's good.
If we're still saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. It serves a purpose. It's not the most groundbreaking shit ever, and they're a little bit corny. They're a lot bit corny, but they're doing a good job of being funny for my dad's friend Phil.
We need the Impractical Jokers out there.
Yes.
There's nothing that wrong with it.
I thought it would be a fun idea for a sketch to have, you see like a group of guys, like they're doing Impractical Joker stuff, and then the person that, they're like, 4 guys telling one guy, like feeding him lines of what he has to say to this person, and then you like switch around and you see the person that they're interacting with is also being controlled by Impractical Jokers. And they just don't know it. Like that they're each being controlled by Impractical. I don't know. It just seemed like a fun image. Maybe not a good idea for a sketch. I'm gonna kill myself now.
It is a
lark.
funny. Well, no, it's a funny cop out to any time you have an awkward situation to just claim that you're being controlled by Impractical Jokers. Listen, I'm sorry I was acting so weird. I was being controlled by Impractical Jokers.
Listen, I had a great time on the date, and I just want to say, if it seemed like I was being awkward or strange at all, it's because I was being controlled by Impractical Jokers. It's funny. Okay, that's a good get out of jail free card.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Okay, is there more on the great outdoors?
Well, I had an improvement.
Oh, I haven't offered any improvements really.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
I think one of my improvements for the great outdoors, more edible plants. Less poisonous ones.
The poisonous ones aren't doing us any favors. I'd say most of the natural world's trying to get you killed.
Yeah.
Almost everything is trying to make sure it survives, which necessitates you not surviving, human being. And I'd love if there's some stuff that helps us. Clearly, we found it.
Yes.
We've put it in grocery stores.
But there needs to be more of it out in the great outdoors, because I feel like, I love to go hiking, but one of the worst parts about hiking is that you got to bring all your shit with
You got to bring these fucking snacks.
And you got to bring water, and then you got to bring a filter and everything. And water's hard to find in the great outdoors.
Water's trying to kill you.
It can be really hard to find. Food can be hard to find in the great outdoors. And if there was more water, if the water was more evenly dispersed in the great outdoors,
Yeah.
and and there was food out in the great outdoors, you didn't have to bring so much of it out with you. It would make the great outdoors way better.
I think it'd solve a lot of our population issues.
Yeah.
People would be spread out a little bit more, which maybe would diminish the value of the great outdoors, because then you got people everywhere. But
Yeah.
I'd be so nice, and maybe there's places you can do this, but it'd be so nice to be on a hike and be able to just, pick some kind of leaf.
like
And there's-
strawberries, like lettuce. Like if there was just lettuce, and you're like, oh yeah, I can get a little salad here. Or we got some melons. Like, oh, here's some wild melons that we can reap,
Right.
and eat and enjoy, and we don't have to bring them.
But they're
out
too
with us.
sparse. And if they were common, people would be eating them into the ground
Yeah.
and into oblivion. They'd be gone. Yeah.
But yeah, if there are less poisonous plants out there, then it's like you could eat a lot of stuff, but what makes us hesitant to eat so much out in nature is like, well, there's also mimics that are poisonous, and we could die. But if there are less poisonous plants and more edible ones, then it would be more of a all you can eat buffet out there, and we wouldn't have to worry as much.
This was on a few of my ideas of what we could be improving, is that we need less things that are trying to kill you, less mimics. It's one of the biggest issues is that you can't be going off into the woods by yourself safely. We have got to make the woods safe.
Yeah. If we made the woods overall safer, I think that it would be a vast improvement.
Yes, and I will say, we before this had talked about maybe talking about ways to improve or disrupt and hack the great outdoors.
Yeah.
And I think that the history of mankind has been a history of trying to hack the great outdoors, to disrupt the great outdoors. That's been the entire project, is how to make the woods safe.
Yeah.
And our answer has been,
build a
we'll
city.
just not make it woods anymore.
Yeah. That's a great point.
And I'd love, and I'm sure this is a big part of different environmentalist
Europeans,
movements, is getting back to some kind of balance, so that we're not so removed from nature.
Yeah.
You don't know where that food's coming from, or you do, and it's from a farm.
Yes.
A factory farm, rather. And it'd be nice. I think it would ease pressure on the farming, on the food supply industry, if there was just more food just kind of on the ground out in the woods.
Yeah.
If we knew, I guess some of this is maybe just highlighting our own ignorance of I think there's a type of outdoors guy who loves to let you know what you can be eating, loves to be on a hike with you and pull shit off of a tree and put it in his mouth.
Yeah, but even the issue
Gets
with
off
that
on
is,
that.
so when I when I was a kid and went to summer camp, there was a division of the summer camp which was primitive skills.
Yep.
And I loved doing that as a kid, and we had those guys.
We called it wilderness awareness.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a guy who went off to I think he after college, he was like, this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about survival, wilderness training. And he went off and did that for a few years. And so he would lead us and show us all the shit you could eat. But the problem is that it was always a little tendril. He's like, well, you can eat the tendrils off of these. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get 1,000 of those. And what you learn about wilderness survival is that it's survival. It's not thriving. It's not
wilderness survival.
Yes, yeah.
It's wilderness survival.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not you don't find a portly guy in the woods. You find a man who's barely making
gaunt.
it. Yes, who's gaunt, stringy, surviving off tendrils.
Yeah.
And it's not a hospitable place. But I think that type of guy, it was very helpful, and I learned how to build a debris hut, and you learn how inhospitable the woods can be and how to make them slightly more hospitable, or hospitable enough so you don't die, but you're not living a good life out there.
No. We need to be wrapping this up soon.
Okay.
Are there any other big talking points? Any big outdoor thoughts, memories, observations? I'd like to get rid of ticks, mosquitoes, these disease vectors. I don't know what purpose they serve. Would love to hear from the listener a good case for the poisonous mimics. Why this stuff is good. I'm sure. I'm sure it is in some way. I don't know it, but I'd love to hear a case for that. Love to hear a case for mosquitoes. Love to hear a case for ticks, because I think we should be waging a war on them. We should be doing a Starship Troopers style war against bugs on ticks and mosquitoes. I'd love to hear from the listener. And again, the only way we can be hearing from you is by getting on Apple Podcast reviews, Spotify Podcast review.
Yeah, and
typing it out in a full review. You can give the 5-star reviews. Well, we'll read them more readily. But you can give it really any number of stars, as long as it's written in the review and you're just trying to communicate with us and not actually reviewing the podcast. That's the way to do it.
The only way. Yeah. Maybe one day we'll make an email.
One day we'll make an email address that likely neither of us will check that off.
I like communicating with strangers, so I would be checking the email a lot.
Right. I guess I like talking to strangers. That's maybe a topic for the next podcast.
Yeah.
Strangers. That could be fun.
Doing a podcast on strangers, that's
sure. I love finding something that seems like we can't make anything out of it and seeing how much mileage we can get out of strangers.
Yeah, well, we know how good the fruit one turned out.
The fruit one, I think, if maybe delete a few ums and ams and uhs and move it along. Sorry to admit on the pod, to editing the pod, but I think it could be a winner.
No, I think everyone realizes. I think everyone who listens to the pod realizes that podcasts are edited, and you don't literally get to hear every single word that is said.
You don't, including.
Goober Time is produced by me, Griffin, and Lauren Talmadge. Executive produced by Tim McGower. Associate producer Ahmed Stork, and aspiring producer Little Jimmy Penn. Goober Time is engineered by Roger Goodrich and recorded at Detweiler Sound in Humboldt, Tupelo, Mississippi. Sound mixing by Reed Armband with music by Laser Monster, which is Griffin in the past. You can check it out at lasermonster.bandcamp.com. Tom's costume was provided by Padma Lakshmi, with catering provided by Kokomo's Mungo Lounge. Kokomo's, if you can't take her here, you can't take her anywhere.